Acting is one of the few fields that is glamorous enough or lucrative enough that you could or would want to go into at a young age. But we've all heard the horror stories about child actors who end up broke or on drugs or dead. Today, Lou Belli and Dinah Lenney are here. They're authors of Acting for Young Actors. Lou is a director on Girlfriends on CW. For the past 13 years, Dinah has played Nurse Shirley on ER, among many other TV roles. They say acting can be rewarding at any age if you go into it with the right outlook. We're also going to talk to some people who went into acting at a young age who loved it and hated it. Pleasure to have you guys here today.
Pleasure to be here.
So, this sounds like fun. It sounds very glamorous, fame and fortune at a young age. How often does it really turn out that way?
I don't think we've ever measured that because the focus of the book really is don't do it because you want fame and fortune. The focus of the book is do it because you love it.
Absolutely. I think we're not interested in fame and fortune, and we don't think that's the reason for anybody. Kids, adults, anybody. You really have to love the arts if you're going to do the arts.
Right.
And I would say that about any profession you go into. Do it because you love it.
Sure, if you're doing it for the
if you're
money,
lucky,
eventually
if you're lucky,
well,
yeah.
and it's a secret to happiness.
But particularly with people who choose the arts, for somebody who chooses to be an actor, why else would you have to, not only do you have to love it, you have to feel like you couldn't possibly do anything else.
And back to your question, really, because so many people don't get that fame and fortune, you're not left with nothing. You're left with something tangible and wonderful that you've loved all your life.
Sure.
If you don't get that fame and fortune.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, how many people end up happy?
Oh, boy.
Who go into it young?
Boy.
I
don't know if people end up happy. I will tell you that I think that it's life enhancing in the moment. I think that
I guess what I'm saying is, how many people go into it for the right reason?
oh boy.
I would say a lot. I would say a lot go into it for the right reasons because first of all, unless you have one of those wicked mommies who are doing it because they wanted to be an actor.
Right.
I would say most kids drive their parents and beg their parents to say, Mom, will you help me? Or Dad, will you help me facilitate this? And for those people, it's already a passion and they love it, and therefore I think they're doing it for the right reasons. And they don't have to do it all their lives. There's Olympic skaters who say, I've done it, I've won the Olympic medal, or I've competed at a very high level. That's what I wanted. I got out of it what I wanted to. Let's move on to something great. And they have something that they learned as a young kid that gave them discipline and love and
Cultural exposure.
And travel.
But I think, particularly for kids who start with stage, particularly when they're starting with a love of theater, there's no question that they're doing it because they love it, because it's fun, and it does make them happy, and it is life enhancing. It's that extracurricular thing, like playing tennis or sports, soccer, or football. There are kids that are theater rats, and they love to go to rehearsal, and those are the kids that we wrote the book for. We wrote the book for all kids, but not so much about I want to be on television and I want to see my face. More about I want to act. It's the physical doing of it.
I love the fact of when I meet people from Hollywood of all places, and I know you both have a theater background, which is great, but who...
I directed Dinah in the first, and the first play I ever directed, Dinah was the star of. Oh. And she was brilliant.
Naturally.
But it's great to hear two people, though, who... they always say it's not show art, it's show business. This is a very money-oriented town. So I love it when I come across people who actually who think that there is an artistic side to it as well.
No, and this book is definitely, we deal with business, but it's light on business, it's heavy on craft. It's really about the fact that we don't think acting is mysterious. Talent is mysterious, but acting is a craft, and you can do it well. And that's the slant.
Well, when I was planning this show and writing the intro, I was thinking about, this really is one of the few professions you can go into at a young age, because I mean, how many other things can you legally do if you're a kid, at a young age? But how young is too young? I mean, I guess they even have babies on sets, but what do you think? You call this the ultimate guide or teen guide. What years did you have in mind?
I would say 12 to about 18.
Yeah. I would hope, we do have a chapter in this book that deals with auditioning for college, for professional programs. I would hope that this could be a text that could take you through high school, maybe into the first year of college.
Okay.
We'd love to see
I'm
it.
thinking not so much the upper age, but the lower age.
In terms of the, no, that's really interesting. Because yes, there's a reason that children don't work. So this is a very sort of personal, difficult territory to deal with. How young is too young? I think it really depends on the parents, don't you?
And also, this is a book that a parent can read if the child is too young to read it, to guide the child in the right direction in terms of learning the craft and not creating bad habits that lead to a child who is not a good actor.
How to be professional and what the do's and don'ts are. But let me ask you, I was talking
There's
to
lots of do's and don'ts in the book.
Well, I'll ask you about
We're
some of
not
those.
into precocious kids, we're not into cute. That's one of the things that we're getting away from here. We really want kids to learn to be themselves and
to learn behavior and to act
truthfully under the given imaginary circumstances. So it's about pretending really, really
Sounds
well.
like the Meisner technique. I've
That's
interviewed Joy
exactly
Barrett,
what
and
it
I
is.
thought that sounds like the Meisner technique
I'm
so
glad you
much
picked
that,
up on it because that's
yeah.
exactly what it was.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, though, that because of the problems that kids can have at a young age, and you have daughters of your own or children of your own, how do you want them to go? How old are they, and would you want them to go into acting?
Wow. My daughter is 16. She's not interested in acting. When she was very young, she was asked to audition for commercials and for television. My feeling was that I did not want her to put a premium on her looks as a 12-year-old. I didn't want her to think that that was her best shining moment. And so I was very happy that she wasn't inclined to follow my footsteps.
So you don't want her to go into acting?
You know what? I want her to follow her heart. I'm just as happy that this is not what she wants to do as a child. Okay. As an adult,
Maybe later on.
If she were to decide that acting was important to her and to make an informed decision, yes. But she's not a kid who wants to do theater, and right there, that's suspect for me.
I have two children. My 15-year-old daughter goes to the Performing Arts High School, the public high school in Los Angeles, the Hamilton Academy of Music. She's in the show that's about to open. And I have a son who's 12 who actually opens in his first big feature movie tomorrow, which is called Santa Claus 3.
So how young did they start?
Tim started acting professionally, I think maybe a year ago. And they were both asked as kids to do it, and unless they were doing Favor for Friends, we discouraged it, but it was only when it became their passion. Now, my daughter has no interest in doing it professionally because she said, "Mom, when would I do my homework?" Because she sees how much time it takes to try to pursue it professionally. And my son also has very strict parameters about what he will do or what he won't do, because he wants to go to a normal school and be a normal kid, and he doesn't want to give up being on the soccer team or the baseball team.
Wants to have a life besides the...
Or skateboarding after school with the kid across the street. I mean, they want to have real lives. And if you can find a professional agent in Hollywood who can work within those parameters, which we were able to do, it works out just fine.
And there are good professional people out there in Hollywood that don't want kids to give up their normal lives. We've spent lots of time talking to casting directors and agents who say, your regular life comes first. You don't want to miss that soccer game, don't miss it. You want to go to that birthday party more than you want to be on the set, go to the birthday party.
And we got it, and that's a lot
there
of the
are good
advice.
people out there. There really are.
Better adjusted overall.
And we have advice in the book that comes from professionals. There's what we call tips from the pros, and that is a major focus of the advice from a lot of the professional people.
Be a person.
Yeah.
Have a full life.
Because that's what comes off on the screen then.
But don't you think, when you talk about stage moms, when you mentioned that earlier, don't you think it's the same almost in any profession, though?
Absolutely.
Because I know parents who force their kids, you're going to be a doctor from age, from the crib, you will be a doctor, you will go to medical school. So I guess that's obviously not a good idea.
My father-in-law was a huge disappointment to his family because he wasn't supposed to be the surgeon. He was supposed to be the dentist.
Wow, really?
I mean, it was that focused. It was like, the surgeon's not, no, you have to be the dentist. He's the architect, you're the...
Certainly, parents need to be careful about whose dream they're promoting. I think that's a really big question.
When do you know you're pushing too far? A friend of mine said the other day, I was telling her about this, and she said, well, but sometimes, like with their kids, he doesn't want to do anything up front. He hated soccer, hated everything. Once he did it, he fell in love with it. And now,
Right.
So how much do you push them? And when do you find out that it's time to let up?
I think it depends on your kid and the age, too. Adolescence is a whole kind of, minefield that poses all kinds of new obstacles and struggles. But I think it's true that you can introduce your kids to things, but you also have to be a really good listener. Mary Lou's daughter goes to Hamilton Academy of Music, which happens to be a wonderful public high school. So I took my daughter, the year before Maggie matriculated, I took my daughter to look at Hamilton 3 times, and the 3rd time she said, "Mom, pay attention. This would have been a very good school for you."
Well, up next, we will hear from a man who went into acting at a young age and hated it. But first, we'll take a look at Mary Lou's show, Girlfriends. We'll be right back.
I'm done. I'm gonna call your father and I'm gonna let him deal with you.
Wait, but I was only going to Amani's party because I haven't seen him in 2 months.
Well, you're not gonna see daylight in 2 months.
Wait, see, that's the problem right there. Ever since we moved here, I never get to see my friends anymore. But you get to get in the car and drive to LA and see your friends whenever you want. Yeah, I'm just stuck out here by myself. Nobody ever asked me if I wanted to move here.
I don't have to ask you nothing. I'm the parent. Would you have any idea the sacrifice?
And we're back with Dinah Lenney, author of Acting for Young Actors. Joining me now is Alan Simon Teigel. I interviewed him recently about his book, Ending the Path to Teen Suicide. In the book, he says he was forced into acting at a young age against his will, and he hated it. Very nice to have you back again today, Alan.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So what happened? How did you get forced into this at a young age?
Well, my mom was an aspiring actress, and she failed, unfortunately, and somehow decided that she would make me a childhood actor. It was the early 70s, and there was kids like Rodney Allen Rippey, that was the Burger King commercials and other shows that she used to make me watch constantly. And
so you could be
them.
like him?
Exactly, be just like him. And I was never really asked, I was just thrown into it, and unfortunately it took my childhood away from me, so I'm not that hip into it. But it is sometimes for certain people and sometimes for not.
Well, let me ask you, Dinah, you're also an acting teacher. So you work with the young actors.
I do.
How often do you see stage moms? I mean, Mary Lou mentioned stage moms before, and talking about stage mothers here. How often do you feel the little kids are being forced into this?
I think you see it too often. Certainly there are lots of wonderful parents out there, but this is a big dream. This is a big dream that parents have, and you have a precocious kid and everybody thinks their kid is the most beautiful kid in the world, and you get this idea that your child can be on television. I wonder how often it's about fame and fortune and how often it is just about kind of a sublimation of somebody's fantasies. But
what he said about wanting
it's terrible.
to do
Your mother failed, and so you were supposed to achieve it for her, or were you supposed to support her?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. All I know is that I spent anywhere from 4 to 6 days a week going
4 to 6 days a week
on interviews, acting classes.
How old were you?
I started at 5 years old.
5 years old.
With no interest?
Well, no, and when you're young, I mean, you really don't know what you love, and you don't, you know, whether it's baseball or this or that, you know, you might like things, but I don't think you know that I want to be an actor at 5 or 6.
No, and you sure do know if you don't want to sit around a set all the time.
So what did you feel? You just felt like you were being dragged around everywhere you didn't want to go?
Yeah,
or?
and I was, and as I got older, it got to a point where it was conflicting with baseball schedule, football schedules, and there's only one way I see you could actually do this is 100%. It's really hard to, you know, if you have a football game and an interview, to say I'm not going to go to the interview, because then your agent actually starts not wanting to send you or try to get you things because you're not wanting to go all the time. And between getting pictures and acting classes and dancing classes,
so you're doing the full
interviews,
works.
yeah, and it takes your childhood away, because there's only a certain amount of time you can do it, and it's usually after or during school, and once you have 4 or 5 days taken out of your week, there's not much left.
And make no mistake, it is work, whether you're a child actor or an adult actor. It's showing up on time, it's knowing your stuff, it's being there for long, long hours, it's being dragged through wardrobe and makeup. It's not a kick. I mean, it is, if you absolutely love it and you have to do it, it's wonderful. But if you don't, it's a bore and it's arduous.
Yeah, it is. And I actually, I got to a point where I was 12 years old and I was having so much conflict with my mother that I quit. But
so you did it for 7 years?
Yeah. I had a sister that's 6 years younger than me, so my mom's energies then went into my sister, and she did the Little Miss pageants, and you name it, she went across.
Did
the
you see
board.
Little Miss Sunshine, by the way?
I ended up getting dragged around the country, not just around California, but around the country, because I was too young to stay at home, and so I went, at 11 and 12 years old to all these pageants and different movie sets and stuff because of being dragged around. I wasn't old enough to be at home. So, and it wasn't something that I liked even from behind the scenes.
Well, let me ask you, this is a tough business. We all know it's a tough business, even for adults. So what's it like for when you're a little kid? Because you talked about, the auditioning, you're going in, you didn't get the part. What was that like? I mean, you had some bad experiences auditioning,
is huge.
right? I mean,
for me, rejection was huge. And when you go 3 or 4 times a week into a room that has 4 or 5 people sitting there with 100 pictures laid out, and you have 3 minutes to slate your name and do the 3 lines that you've been reading out in the hallway with the 50 other kids, it's pressure beyond belief. And when I was young, I couldn't read well. I was actually dyslexic, and so I even had a harder time. And you have a parent that says go in and be yourself, but the people actually in there want you to be what's on the paper. So I had conflict after conflict, and when you get rejected one time after another, and you have your mother saying, go in, do your best this time. Well, I did my best last time, and the time before that, and they didn't want me then, and so that's where it gets to a point of, hardships, and it's acting at some points, but there are parents that do it with their kids in gymnastics or football or baseball. Absolutely. So I'm not saying it's just with the acting, but it is something that you have to put in 100%. You can't just do it on Tuesdays.
What were the business people like, the casting director? Were they nice to you as a little kid? I mean, I'm just curious, did it seem like these mean adults, or what were you dealing with?
Nice, and you're actually, once you're sort of in, you get treated like the prince or the princess, and you're getting driven places, and things taken care of you, people bringing you, do you need a water, do you need, but it's not like that when you go back home, which sometimes is a letdown, and with your friends, they may not treat you like that. So again, the problem I see too is you're alone when you're acting. It's not like a team sport. You can't go in with your other buddies, have support from them. You're doing it alone, and you may go in there with 50 other people that are in for the same thing, but they're not rooting for you because they're rooting for themselves.
Right.
It's unfortunately at the beginning, especially from an age of 5 or 6 through 12, it's a lonely experience, I believe.
I think that's true. We did speak, Mary Lou and I did speak to a number of young actors who said, this is lonely. You don't fit in on the set because it's a bunch of adults and they're doing their work. You don't fit in back home because other kids don't do what you're doing. So,
and especially, I think, as you guys said, if you do get a part and it's something, let's say, a little bit offbeat, you might be teased about it permanently or something.
Absolutely. You're playing the fat girl on this show, or you're playing the skinny one on that show, and you get labeled, and your friends, whether it's out of jealousy or envy or just the sheer peculiarity of it, are going to make fun of you. So it's difficult and it's lonely, and a parent needs to know that if they're forcing a kid to do it, the kid's never going to land any work anyway, because the kid's unhappy, and nobody wants to cast an unhappy kid. It reads.
Now you did get some parts.
I know that all too well because I only got print work. I was the J.C. Penney's Sears catalog kid in the pajamas at 6 years old, and so I, stand like this. I had friends of mine, mainly the girls, bring the catalogs. Look at Alan, he's in the pajamas. Look at Alan, And when you're in 4th grade, it's not. It wasn't an ego boost. It was almost like, what did I do? It's not something you're used to when you're that young, and to have parents say, well, my kid loves it, your kid also loves macaroni and cheese, but over time things change, and I would hope that parents would take a look at what it does to a kid's childhood. I mean, you hear about people, Michael Jackson, Macaulay Culkin, that lost their childhoods, and you really do. If you're going to do it, you have to do it 4, 5, 6 days a week to get in the biz. I mean, there's only one way of going at it, and that's pretty much 100%. So I hope parents will take a look and see if it is not making their kid happy, that they would yank them out and let them do what is best for them.
I think that's true.
He said something I thought was very interesting at one point. He said that his mother was always saying, be yourself, but he thought the people wanted something else. Do you have any comments on that as a
Yeah,
actor
I
coach?
think that's really important advice for any actor, for old actors and young actors. What do you have to bring to the party? What makes you an individual? You have to be yourself, particularly with kids. Kids are cast, and in television and film, it's about typecasting. And so it's useless to try to make a kid conform to some standard that they don't understand, and of course the biggest mistake that kids make as actors is that they imitate what they see on television instead of finding their own truth. And the book is all about how to find truth, how to pretend well out of your own experience.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. Up next, we'll hear about a young man who went into acting and seems to be enjoying it so far, but first we'll take a look at Dinah Lenney on ER. We'll be right back. We're back with Lou Belli, author of Acting for Young Actors. Tanner Whitlock is joining me now. He's a young actor who's found success at an early age, 9 years old. He's already done 20 commercials. His family was facing foreclosure on their home in Georgia. Their mother took a gamble and brought the 3 kids to LA to give acting a try. They found success almost immediately. The father also moved here and found a job, and they're all happily back together, again living in Burbank. Pleasure to have you here today, Tanner.
Hi.
Thank you for fitting me into your schedule, young man. I hear you almost didn't make it. You had an audition for CSI or something, and but I'm glad you fit me in.
Thank you.
So you just did Cold Case and The House, I think?
Yes. Cold Case, House, Everybody Hates Chris.
Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's on my network.
Oh, so how, did you like it? Did you hate Chris?
Yes.
He's good. He's a comedian, too. We got right here. And you've done 20 commercials?
Yeah, 20.
What kind of commercials have you done?
That's a lot. Okay, like Oscar Mayer. I've done 2 Oscar Mayers, like the Wiener Mobile and Lunchables.
Lunchables, okay.
Yeah. Subway.
Subway.
That was done a long time ago.
Have you done a McDonald's?
Yes, but I got cut out of that.
Yeah. I did McDonald's too.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. I was a
Cool.
weightlifter.
A weightlifter?
Well, it seems like you're having fun with this. You seem like you're enjoying it?
Yes, it's very fun.
So you have a good time on the set and like the people?
Yeah, the people are very nice to get along with.
Do you get a lot of free food too when you're doing the
Yes,
McDonald's
yes,
commercial?
I love the food. I love the
What's a
food.
place where you go get food on a set?
Craft
Service.
Craft service,
That's right.
yeah.
And is it hot or cold? What's it like? Because
Hot.
some people who are
It's like-
watching the show probably have never been to craft service.
Yeah, it's warm.
Uh-huh.
It's warm.
Uh-huh.
It's like room temperature or air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you like the donuts? Is it donuts?
Love the donuts. Donuts
I
are
like the
best.
donuts too.
Yeah, donuts.
I stay away from the Krispy Kremes whenever possible.
I try. I tell them lock them up around here. So, is this something you want to do for the long run? When you grow up, do you want to be an actor too?
Probably, yeah. It's between acting and baseball.
Acting and baseball.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a baseball player,
Yes, I love baseball.
and you find time to do both. Is it hard to fit both in?
Yes, very hard. Sometimes we have to skip the game and sometimes we have to skip the audition.
Oh, so it's a balance between
Yeah.
the two. not
What
just-
position do you play?
I play almost every position except for
Well-rounded
third
guy.
and
Shortstop?
no, I
What?
love shortstop.
That's what my son is.
Yeah. Third and catcher.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how do you fit school in too? Because it's 300 years since I was in school, but I think at 9 they're in school, right?
Yes,
So-
you are.
So how do you balance all of this with school too?
Yeah,
And,
I'm homeschooled, so that makes it easier.
homeschool, okay.
Yeah, so I can like get out of school and bring my butts to the audition.
And when you work, don't you also have to go to school while you work?
Yes, for 3 hours I do.
Every day.
Yeah,
Yep, it's the law.
yeah. Law.
So how young can they be? Any age on the set, by the way? I mean,
Yes,
it's-
the
even
child
babies.
labor laws
Uh-huh.
restrict how long you can work,
Just the-
so it decreases as the child gets younger. I
Well,
mean, you can have an infant baby, but
Mary
you might
Lou-
only be able to work for a couple minutes or a half an hour or whatever.
Sure. In our final moment here, do you have any advice for Tanner as he's growing up as a young actor?
Do it as long as you love it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Well, it sounds like he's loving it. Well, thank you, Tanner, for being here today. I appreciate it. Best of luck
Thank
with
you.
your career. Thank you, Mary Lou,
Greg.
very much.
A pleasure.
The book is Acting for Young Actors. Alan Simon's book is Ending the Path to Teen Suicide. And I believe we have some people over here who are going to join us.
Oh, let's. Oh, look who's here, the whole family.
Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Whitlock. I know you got your arms full there. And we got Austin Taylor here. And the girl is, pleasure to meet you.
Destiny.
So, and they're all 3 actors.
Yes, they are. And Mom, who's the professional chauffeur and all-around good support and teacher. So let's hear it
Thanks
for the
everybody for
mom.
watching. We'll see you next time.